You know what? I don't care that it's a fan service. I don't care that it's cliche. I don't care that it's out of place and a little bit corny. And I really don't care that they really milked it in the episode. I loved my cabbages! Cabbage Man's iconic. He is the heart and soul of the Avatar universe. And I've always had a very long-standing theory that at the end, when they do the Ember Island players in the original cartoon, that they got all the information from the Cabbage Man. Because he was there all the time. He happened to be at nearly every single location the Avatar gang went to. And the fact that his legacy, his lore, his impact is being put into the live-action show, amazing. But otherwise, this whole episode kind of felt like a massive Easter egg hunt. And I don't think that it necessarily did it badly, but I do think it could have been done a little bit better. It could have been polished up. I think that putting Jet, as well as the Mechanist and his son, in Omashu made sense. They were both very important side quests within the original show, more so Jet, and I think that they were important to have in the live action. Though if I were being really nitpicky, I would say that I think they should have dedicated a whole episode to Jet alone, kind of like they did with the Kyoshi Warriors. Jet's storyline is so important. It shows how you can have both good and bad on both sides of the war, and that just because you're fighting for the right side doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. And I think one of the overarching messages of the entire show and the entire world is that the ends do not always justify the means. Aang will always refuse to achieve peace through violence, and that's absolutely necessary. Whereas Jet sees it as the only way to defeat your enemy is to go down to their level. And then they had the story of the Mechanist there, someone who is seemingly on the right side of things, but is actually working for the Fire Nation because he just wants to survive. And you can completely understand his point of view because he's scared, and he has a son that he's trying to protect. Both Jet and the Mechanist have incredibly important stories that show different sides of the war that are almost opposite to each other. And by putting them in the same episode, as well as having another subplot with Zuko and Aang and Iroh, it made it a bit confusing. I really didn't feel like there was enough time given to either story to make it as impactful as it should have been. But the highs of this episode were very high. The first half of the episode, Katara was about as lifeless and speechless as she has been for the entire previous episodes. But then she finally started fighting with Sokka and standing her ground and showing some personality. And I'm probably going to do an entire video on Katara once I finish this because there's so much I want to say about this character. But for now, I feel like this is the first time I am finally starting to see what should be another protagonist. I do like that Sokka's engineering skills are being highlighted because I always felt like in the original cartoon, his skills were being brushed aside in favor of the fact that he was a warrior. Whereas here in the live action, it's just one of the other moments where they are actually developing these characters further and giving them more depth. I saw someone complaining about the Zuko and Aang fight, and I don't see why. I thought it was visually beautiful. When they were fighting in the cloths, I don't care that it might have been a bit corny. It was stunning to look at. But I think the thing that really stole the show for me this episode was Zuko yelling at Aang when he realized that he stole his notebook. Best moment I've ever seen, 10 out of 10.